So it's pretty wild seeing the shore when it's covered in snow. I don't know if you can see this behind me, but like it's just piled up at the end of this little arcade row. I asked our oldest to go ahead and get the track that came off the pool vacuum, and she agreed to do it, but was struggling to jump in herself. So she asked her mom to push her.
Are you sure? Yeah.
How cold is it?
Oh my god. It's so cold.
And with that, I was then off to New Jersey. I decided to fly an airline I've never flown before. It was a Allegiant airline right out of a small airport near our house. Flights were unbelievably inexpensive, which is the reason why I gave it a shot. Wanted to see how the flight experience was. The boarding process was cool given it was outside, but inside it was like any other plane with the exception of these unbelievably tiny trays and the backs of the seats. Upon arrival in New Jersey, I certainly saw that we had quite a bit of snow on the ground. This is in Atlantic City at the airport, just kind of looking about. And as we started to drive out, you could definitely see the remnants of what was a pretty massive storm. The next morning, I decided to make a few egg bites, just whipped eggs, cottage cheese, and baked them in these little muffin tins with some water in the bottom of it. They were great. And I decided to go ahead and take a little drive around town. We drove up into Paterson, New Jersey, and through an area called the Great Falls National Historic Park. This was really pretty cool, and the scenery was interesting, right? It was all this deep snow. It looked beautiful. We saw quite a few deer. I was really surprised at how many. And then, well, you just never know what other wildlife you may very well see. Beautiful prancing horse, though. Look at that thing. And then as we drove around this park, we continued to see more deer. And it was surprising how they would just come right up to the side of the road and people would stop and I think maybe they were throwing food out. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely a beautiful drive through here. We stopped at a couple of places to look at some scenic overlooks as well. I'll show you that too. We then got to this amazing little scenic overlook. We pulled the car off on the side of the road and you walk right up to this. Now, forgive this, I'm just filming it on my phone, but I want you to just see how far out you could see. It was really cool. You're looking at this on a big screen, you might be able to see this a little better. I'll try zooming in, but it'll be a digital zoom, so it won't be great. But this had to be, I don't know, a couple of 1,000 feet up, maybe 1,000 feet up. And when you sort of panned out, it was just huge. My dad and I stood up here for a while. And we kept sort of looking, and in the distance you'd see a building, and you try and zoom into it. They had binoculars there too. For example, I kept noticing this little church steeple way out there and trying to zoom in and get a better view of it. And then you realize as you do, there's like three big church steeples down there. So we drove around and checked out those churches too. We then saw some signs for some waterfalls. Then we'll drive by and take a look and just didn't have big expectations. For a bit of history, this is the Passaic River. And as water from this river was being channeled to power the growing city, the population was sort of increasing, and so was the need for drinking water and fire protection. And in 1849, a group of leaders formed this Passaic Water Company and began working on a water storage system. The company built reservoirs adjacent to the falls, and later they acquired the water rights to build above the falls. And then it was around 1860 the company actually constructed a dam of like mortared stone along the rim of the top of these falls. And that is what you sort of see in some of the photos here. Really cool to see this sort of history, and I was shocked at how stunning and beautiful this was. The falls were absolutely stunning, and afterwards we decided to grab some lunch. It happened to be during Ramadan, and we stopped at this cool little Turkish restaurant. It was really neat to talk to the wait staff there. Typically, people will fast during this period, so we had to order off the menu, obviously, and the place was pretty empty. The food was absolutely delicious, and they served these amazing Turkish coffees. That was a real treat. It was sort of boiled right in the coffee itself. The grounds were in the bottom of the cup, but delicious. A lot of times in the morning, I'll just go for a drive, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to just show how much snow was on the ground. Now, this is about 5 days after the snow fell. It was still a good 6 or 7 inches deep in most of the yards, and obviously where there was, plowed piles and whatnot, it was a bit higher. But it was cool checking this out in the neighborhood. I then went to one of my favorite little coffee shops, this place called Lava Java, and I saw this amazing sign they had over there. Love this. It speaks to our pirate hearts. But before this stop, I actually stopped on the boardwalk.
Well, good morning. I'm out here at the Jersey Shore taking my little walk. It's really kind of a cool place to do it. At home I go down these little walking trails or whatever. But here, you get to go out here, walk along the boardwalk, check out the scenes. And I gotta tell you, this is so memorable for me. We used to come out here all the times as kids, and my mom would take us to the beach. We'd come out here in the summertime, and Wednesdays and Friday nights they would do fireworks over the beach. So we used to do that all the time, and just coming down Casino Pier where the rides were, or even all of these little shops and restaurants. It used to be arcades and whatnot. We'd walk down here and play video games and skee ball or whatever it was. It was a blast as a kid doing all that stuff. Heck, I can even remember, they had those big gambling wheel things. You put a quarter down on a number and the big wheel would spin and you'd win tokens or tickets, and then you could trade those in for stuffed animals or whatever. There was another place north of here called Keensburg, and I can remember my uncle used to do those same things and win us little toys and stuff, but he also played those wheels for cartons of cigarettes. It was a different time in the late 70s and 80s. So fun though, so fun. Here, check this out. And these things are all closed. We got a 1.5 feet of snow last week. It's finally starting to melt along here, but me and my dad still come to this little Midway steakhouse every so often, get a hot sausage with onions and peppers. A lot of times there'll be people out here surfing. Let's see if there are today. I do not see any. Coming out here to the pier was always such a blast, going on the rides. They got the whole Midway right here behind that digital sign. What foggy morning, you can barely see all of that. Casino Pier and the Atlantic Ocean right here at Seaside Heights. It's always fun. I know I filmed this before, but it's part of my little morning routine when I'm here. So, hope you don't mind seeing it again. When I talked about quite a bit of snow on the beach, you can certainly see it here. And check this out. Just give you an idea on how much was here. This is after a bunch has melted, but there. It's just stacked up where they came in and plowed the streets with all. Yeah, that big piles like that, that'll probably be here another 1.5 weeks. Even when it's getting up to 50 degrees or 60 degrees in the, during the day, it's a lot of snow to melt, a lot of snow.